Sanje Shindo Mede Boai Rogun Nanda Jen La Jeba Yo Yedang Guru Rana Nakane Adayami.
Which is generally considered a more difficult realization to attain? An inferential realization of emptiness or engaged bodhicitta? Is my mic on? Yeah. Okay. So I would rephrase this a little bit. The word that's being translated as realization can be properly translated as understanding. If it's inferential or the result of inference, then it's a conceptual understanding of emptiness. And then I'm translating engaged bodhicitta as active bodhicitta, so same thing, different words. Or really it's, when you say inferential understanding of emptiness, well, the word realization, yeah, that's like understanding it through inference, yeah, or through conceptual actually. Yeah. Gandhi, Tony Dunchi Tsugi Tokpatan, Juksim Kari Top Kashu Resa. Tony Dunchi Tsugi Tokpatan, Juksim
Towani.
Juksim Kagi Kakshure. Top Kashu.
Only Towadan Jusum
Dunji Tony Dunji Tsugi Tokpa.
Tony Dunji Tsugi Towa, the Jusum Karikagrisire.
Hoyala Kakshu Karisa.
Oh, Jusum Gilekeva Sigre, Jusum Towa Sigre.
Are you asking the difference between understanding what active bodhicitta is, or actually producing it within your mind? Simla keva, gula keva sa. Gula.
Gulekeva, that is Tony Jusum Gulekeva Karakagri. Jusum Gulekeva Chanju Sim Gulekeva. Tony Tenji Tsuvanyaran, Sosakiwala Yori.
So now, yes. So it's much harder to develop, to produce active bodhicitta within your stream of being than it is to understand emptiness through conceptually, by means of a concept, because of course Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas necessarily develop an understanding of emptiness, conceptual understanding of emptiness before they realize it directly. And then ordinary people also can understand emptiness through conceptually.
Jusum Julake Sena Karasigare Jena, Ane Chanju Gusum Julake. Chanju Gusum Julake was a massa, Ane Joba Chindula Lomdoki, Sambe, Unjusabashkore. Jusum Julake.
In order to have that active form of bodhicitta within your stream of being, then prior to that even you have to have already developed the aspirational form of bodhicitta, which is the intention to engage in the activities that one is engaging in when one has the active form of bodhicitta.
Oh yeah. That's it.
Then Kasa Tony Munsum Doyala Tony ngunsum tokpala tokpatang kasa juksim kari
고마래.
mari kagi kachuresa.
대양 돈이 무슨 더 발래라.
So even a direct
돈이 무슨 더 년대로 요하래스.
so even a direct realization of emptiness, perceptual realization of emptiness is direct realization of emptiness is much easier than developing having the actual active form of bodhicitta within your stream of being, because again, the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas have to have developed that direct realization of emptiness, and they, of course, do not have any form of bodhicitta.
다디 내 마차에서 다 대중 주점들이 마시니라. 다디는 모두 손들지 대 이샤시라. 디고가 있으면도 단위와 투배 님이나 사모 무슨 위견자니라. 어제 다 접시되자 여사도 마체 디지털이 최대 다그니 술라된자 코라 미제밤 대나 명만나서 내가 차 세디기다 좀 된대지 사모된 빛내도 미루미 존재라 두자 대다라 사모 무슨 위견자들 가르에 세대다 디 접시되자 여사도 마체 세디 디 가르송 거래서나 투베 아니 가서 좀 내가 봐 상제네 아니 샤슈시 저기 봐도 아니 타마나 도대체 투몽을 아니 가서래 처음 말씀 봐 좋아 투베 상제네 도대체 가시기 오로 샤슈고 최대한 발라 로버 주대지 최대한 발라 로버데 최마대한 봐 로버 주대 저 타탐제단 드라이비스 오사시 저자 저 탐제단 자위 최대 사위치 두자 남지 두지 기워 남지 아니 시바 까바데 두자 남지 또 까바데 아니 좀 된대지 투수 취대 아니 균전 대기 아니 타만 두자 투몽 오르샤 수시과도 처음 못 잡아래 오사시 저자
So then the next subject here is showing the reason why the sage, here referring to Lord Buddha, did not teach this profound dharma to disciples who are not suitable vessels for it, who are not suitable recipients of it. And then there's a verse quoted here which says, and here it's the Buddha himself saying, I have obtained this dharma, which is like the nectar of immortality. It is profound, it is free of conceptual elaboration, it is luminous and uncreated. Whoever I teach this to would not be able to understand it. Therefore, without speaking of it, it is better that I stay in the forest. So this passage here actually is what he thought or said when he initially, after he presented the appearance of having achieved a perfect awakening under the Bodhi tree. Now, of course, he had already achieved awakening long before that, but from the perspective of ordinary beings at that time, it appeared as if he had first actualized perfect awakening while he was sitting under the Bodhi tree. So then within the context of that initial display of having achieved perfect awakening, after he arose from the meditative concentration in which he actualized or gave the appearance of actualizing perfect awakening at that time, then he said this verse, and so this is explained in the commentary here that says that the sage, the Buddha, that from the perspective of some of the people to be trained, some of the people of the potential disciples at that time, within their perspective, for 49 days, he did not engage in the teaching of the Dharma at that time. And the reason for that was that he had understood that this Dharma that he had realized which is separate from all of the extreme all of the extremes of the conceptual elaborations. It is because it is profound. It would have been very difficult for the persons at that time, those specific disciples anyway, to have been able to understand it. So that's the reason.
단디 수라 땡장 아니 코와 미조와 인장 균전 되나 몇만 나지 되수 아니 배월 채와 내와 차세 도티체
The verse then saying that this I have obtained this dharma, which is like the nectar of immortality, profound, free of elaboration, luminous, uncreated. Since no one else would, even if I teach it to show it to someone else, no one will be able to understand it. Therefore, better that I should stay in the forest without speaking, just remain in a sort of hidden fashion. That's a passage from the sutra.
Oh yeah, that digi 가서래. 대화선함. 님이나 미수부 균전되라. 다데 자와라 진디간에 최지 삽시 기부이 세와 가외 투치디. 대나 투바 산제네 최된 바라 로바 주르 세가라. 다탄다 시와나 신체니 아니 최지 삽지 세디 다들 누가도 산제는 누자라 최된 바라 로바 주데스. 가서 최된 바라 로바 주데스. 아니 至于他们家咱查为确的3月7日确的3月3月7日尤其就以谢瓦改为图书谢瓦搞完的但那样留下来判没多吧都是多留下个就那么些谢瓦搞完的图书区别按那军站给人
Then, so that quotation was from the sutra actually, and then the verse which refers to that is number 18 here in this chapter, and the translation here says, "Hence, having attained awakening, the sage realized that since this Dharma was so profound, people would not understand it, so he refrained from teaching the Dharma." And the commentary explains that as well, that once the sage had actualized awakening, within the perspective of some of the disciples, some of the people to be trained here, he refrained from teaching the Dharma for 49 days. The reason for that is because this Dharma, which is separate from the entirety of the extremes of conceptual elaborations, it is profound because of that, and therefore it would be difficult for the persons to be trained to understand it, and thus, because the sage understood that, he appeared to refrain from teaching the Dharma for that time period.
Oh yeah, that is any good thing is about that. Oh, you mean some Musumi, any good thing is about that. Some of the Loba Sumi, Yemidang, Sumi Lenny, Payanda, Yemi, Peshaba, some of the Loba Chijima Loba Sumi, Payanda, Loba Sumaki, Yemiki, and a Peshabata. And some of the Patan Damba, that day you're going to tumble Loba Sumi, Yemitella. Dolana Dang, Dujachi, Dujaji, Dolana Dang, and Dang, Chishu days. Topakawa, Niji, Yanda, to Damba, and Riso, Yamna, or Dolana Dang, 继续过的多把高啊年纪养大样都担把人说伢那多把高啊人长养大样都担过个人伢那哦多年可以人当没担把了担把吃完嘛的担那样아니多年可话个人当没担把多年多把没牛把了担把吃完没应的担把吃完没应的多年可以人当没担把了担把吃完没应的人当没担比没给我当，开我老把碰一没不当单没单把了单呢，当年单呢，让现在没把的没比听着送我当，安尼没比听着送我当，开我老把了单那样，安尼碰一没有张，安尼他刚说的，没单把的，是吧？
So here then, this leads into the next subject. So here then, this leads into the next subject, showing the explanation of the reason why the Buddha initially refrained from teaching this instruction on emptiness. Here, this has multiple subdivisions again, showing the bad consequences of incorrectly or wrongly apprehending this profound instruction, this profound dharma, and so that's the first of the topics. We'll just start with that, and so then someone might think, well, if it's easy to understand this, then why would one have to teach it at all? And if it's difficult to understand, then it would be proper to teach it over and over again. So someone might have that kind of idea. However, the explanation for that is that it's not something that ought to be taught to someone who doesn't possess, to someone who is not of the type who is able to understand emptiness. That's one. That's the point there, that this is something which is not to be explained or demonstrated shown to someone who does not possess, is not of the sort who can understand emptiness, because there are consequences, bad results, which arise from teaching this to someone who doesn't have the capacity to, or doesn't possess Riktam midempe mikepa sana. Riktam midempe mikepa.
Riktam midempa bi midempa ki mikewa maimba. Kewa ta. Right? Ani kewa lomba kewa yin yamba ngaja lomba teta. Ani teta la dena ani point nyemi yare.
So the two types here would be someone who doesn't have the intellectual capacity to, is not of the sort which possesses that sort of intellectual capacity to understand it, or is not able to understand it. And then the other type would be someone who, they have that kind of intellectual capacity, but they imagine, or they falsely assume that they are wise and learned. So the two sorts, I'm sorry to restate that, if someone is not such that they are wise and learned enough to be able to understand it, that would be there would be bad consequences of explaining emptiness to them. Or, on the other hand, someone who is arrogant with respect to their intellect and considers themselves to be greatly learned and intelligent. That sort of arrogance, person to whom, if emptiness is explained to that sort of person, then there's the bad consequence of them being ruined as well.
Oh yeah, 미개와 풍주의 간절해서 리담 미덴바기 카바 마인바 미개와 풍주 간절해서나 최대 로바 시에다니 미개 남니 취장사 라 이들 매봤다와 미산테니 청와 주로 들어간다 담보 대기 미개와라 돈이 때나 개와 뭐된 버리다 미된 미개와 개와 뭐인 바라 돈바니 땜바나 라시지 메바 땡디가나 아니 라시지 메바디 지암에 비텐도 손데 아니 최딜라 로바 시신 에 데라타나 아니 라시지 메바디 지암에 비론도 때네 최딜라 로바 시신 코레 주나 미개와나니 단조다 타바 니래냥바 근데 단조다 타바 니래냥바 가르래서나 라시지 메나 때문에도 코네 아니 로다 깨네 그봐 로다 또니 아니 단조당 타바 니가라 냥배 아니 단조 그때 토바데 취사 그래서 어디 세야되라 근데 최대 로바시가 내 미감남니 취자사 와 균형 가르래서 대답 매봤다와 있다는 게 저와 자살하시 라시지면나 때내 매봤다와 왕기 아니 미사왕 안로 테니 칭어를 규에 되니 로바다와 그 남은 게 대우 매기 위에 되게 왕기 아니 안로 칭어 규에 오다 된다 내들라 사와 차고래 코라 풍화야 지와이장 딜라 사와 차고래
So then, the way in which those who are unwise or unable to understand this at all, they could be ruined, is that, is explained in the next verse here. This is verse 19, where it says, if this Dharma is misunderstood, it will devastate, or I would say ruin the unwise, for they will sink deeply into the filth of nihilistic views. And then this is explained that if one shows emptiness to those who are unwise, who don't have the capacity to understand it properly, then they will think that when they hear that things do not have intrinsic existence, they will misapprehend that and think that that entails that things do not exist in any way whatsoever. And so in that way, they will think that emptiness means total non-existence. They'll misapprehend it in that way. And by misunderstanding this dharma of emptiness in that way, thinking that absence of intrinsic existence entails absence of existence, complete non-existence, they misunderstand it that way. Then these unwise persons, such persons will take up sort of nihilistic view, which thinks that nothing at all exists, and especially that karma and its effects do not exist. Then such persons will then deteriorate from both the attainment of high forms of rebirth, high status, as well as liberation. They'll deteriorate from obtaining a good form of human life again in the present, a life which is a basis for Dharma practice, as well as liberation, and they'll be destroyed in that way. And thus, by the force of that nihilistic view that they've adopted, they will sink into the filth of the lower realms of existence due to the power of that nihilism. And therefore, because that is the case, one must be very cautious on this subject.
Oh yeah, that migawa pumi to the 다 개발을 넘바 맞아 와 개발 인연바기 안 넘바 품이 수대 가르래서는 시행한테니 로송네 lumbo 개발 맞아자 뽀야 말이 다니제 남의 반에 지주죠 세 시행한다 라시지 매바디 지암이 붙은도 좀밤 다지 나시 라시지 매바지 비트 지암 라시지 매비트인데 지암 매부터도 좀밤 와 예매 가양 많이 붙은데 좀밤 양 라시지 넘비 라시지 dom바 땜바나 텐라와데 라시지 dom비 돈이데 돈용원에 가나 말했어 텐라와데 돈용 남아 많이지 텐라와데 렌데라 꾸와데 따와 인시 아니 dom바니 테니 로바송아 我想听你老孙呢，是老爸孙话是我当你把你听的老爸孙话的了，你长短了我的都准备，老爸孙话的长短了的，他了我的都准备，你林不开运俺家讲，是的，林不开运俺家讲，俺家有吧。天这边看啥？这个看俺家真有这个，你什么当把你帮完，你什么容易当你讲，看了就把天你什么当把你帮完，什么容易当你讲，看了就把天你，你什么当把你帮完给念完了，那边把你记住是着，念完那边把它记不住，记住是着我是
So this next verse then explains the way in which teaching emptiness to those who presume to be wise, that is, they have a kind of presumption of their intellectual superiority and that they consider themselves to be highly educated. Those are ruined in the following fashion. Here, this is in verse 20 in the translation, where it says, and from misunderstanding this dharma, fools who presume themselves pundits, pundit is an Indian word for like a scholar or a scholar actually, are ruined by their denial of it, plummet straight down, literally it says head first, into Avicii hell, into Avicii. So here then it says, moreover, those, if they misunderstand it, these fools who have the arrogance of scholarship by abandoning emptiness, their character is ruined and they go head first into Avicii, is another way to translate that. And so it says, the commentary says, moreover, some who have this scholarly arrogance, they misapprehend emptiness as meaning complete non-existence. So just as in the previous case where those who don't have the capacity to understand it take it as entailing a nihilistic perspective. Likewise, some who presume to be scholars or to be highly educated also can misapprehend it as meaning emptiness, as if it meant complete non-existence. Or it could also be the case that when you teach such persons that things are empty of intrinsic existence, on the other hand, these some supposed scholars would say that that's not the genuine emptiness. This emptiness that's being explained here is not genuine emptiness. Rather, this is a view that deprecates karma and its results. So they come to think, they say this way of explaining emptiness is not the genuine, actual meaning of emptiness. Rather, that way of explaining it is a view that deprecates karma and its results. And then by misapprehending the meaning of emptiness in that way, these fools come to hold the statements of the Buddha that are of provisional intention, that is, that are not meant to be held definitively, as if they were of definitive intention, had definitive meaning. And these foolish persons who have this scholarly arrogance, then by abandoning emptiness in that way, because their character, their mental character is completely ruined, such persons then go head first into the Avicii.
Oh yeah. 这话写的告诉，当半年了，大年了，写到穷了，碰下去了。啥事？其他州了数年的人啊用，刚才就说那些钱呢。 人家因为年完猪把去了，所以干了。当把年了，大年了，写了穷了，碰我就是。大年我是看啥呢？什么当把年给填了，但他没给我当。俺老爸说我太太给大年我的，让些没填，但没得说我，是吧？填的那些，俺呢大年呢， 아니 셔러 수나 풍화 장시 매바다베 따와디 아니 매바다와라 되니 어 대단한 데다 셔러 수나 풍화 줄세 좀 대단 지바리.
So this has the same meaning is expressed elsewhere in Master Nagarjuna's works in the I think it's in the basic verses of basic wisdom, where it says that if one misapprehends the view of emptiness, if one holds emptiness incorrectly, then one of an inferior intelligence, inferior wisdom literally, but you could say inferior intelligence here, is ruined. And it's just like someone who grasps a snake incorrectly, or who casts a spell in the incorrect fashion.
어디 뒤배라 기타 줄라 순예나 링아 예배 주바신 세가라 링아 나라 소바다 텐데기 답디 아니 주 아니 가순 레바순나 아틀라테네 링아 그당 링아 따발라 때네 아니 내가 그때 된 주바든지 여장 순예나 아니 라니 라바 셔바 인자 아니 지다 줄라 순예다 링아 예배 주바신 어때 배로 거 말이
줄라 네바 이버서
라브신데 순데 잠바 순예나 줄라 지다 줄라 순예다 링아 예배 주베시 루기 띵라 맨라 알아 소와들에 땀니 아니 송와나 송와되지 이나 내가 그때 된 주베든지 여와체 근데 매바 순다 마셔봐 순예나 아니 누구라니 라바쳐봐대 당 사모동반이 따당 마셔봐 당시지 매바 따위 된도거나 다디 배려자.
So here then, the example of is actually you can combine the spell and the snake together in a single example, because it's said that if one casts the spell correctly on the snake, and also there's like a herbal substance that one can use, apply to the snake, and then cast the spell over it. Then one can do special things with the snake is able, actually doing that properly enables you to accomplish all kinds of special things. However, if you do this incorrectly, that is, you don't apply the ointment properly, actually, and cast the spell correctly, then, and you try to catch the snake with your hand, then the snake is liable to bite your hand and kill you or ruin you in that way.
Oh yeah. 지다 줄라 순예다 링안 예외 주바신 세다데 자와시라고 그때 이 집아 두고 와더라. 대나 동반이지. 동반이라 매와께와 까나양. 당신이 또 동반이라 랑그 매와께와 까나양. 아니 동반이 당신이 또나 매바레에서 꾸와 매다바 땅님이 샤바 차이.
So this example then is just like teaching or trying to someone who misapprehends emptiness. They think when they hear that things are devoid of intrinsic nature, they think that entails that things are completely non-existent, and that kind of misapprehension of emptiness is analogous to the person who is bit by the snake when they haven't properly taken hold of it. It ruins that person. So similarly here, same thing applies, and thus although it is
어머니지 되라 매바껴와데 깔라카보이나야 미지나야 와 아니 땅에서 샤바 차이 꾸와마다 바 땅바랑 신지 매봐요 아마 랑신지 매나 때는 매고래서 군다 미셔봐
So here
아니 땅에서 샤바 차이 꾸완다브라 미쳐오.
So here then the understanding of emptiness, even having admiration for the teaching of emptiness, which says that everything is devoid of intrinsic nature, it's difficult to give rise to a kind of interest in this topic. of emptiness. So that's difficult alone, but better than misapprehending it, it would be much better to simply leave it aside as if you're not able to understand it, or rather than misunderstanding it and misapprehending it such that it leads you into a sort of nihilistic view which denies karma and its results and so forth. Much better to simply set it aside for the time being, and rather than coming to disparage it or to deprecate the teaching of emptiness because of your own misapprehension of it.
Oh yeah, 다니와 사모동반이지 돼. 아니 가서 레버를 뭐 송화당. 양 치지로도 녀 치지로도 아니 숨이 아니 파연다 녀미니 오대. 배유관에 샤바텔라. 그러와 지다카사 현님이 풍화다도 주화당. 살레 체단 남매단 또단 대화 주와 따르. 세오다디 카사그 배라. 카사세 지다 카사 산예배 세가나 카사 최마심바 세와당. 양 류라 미저바기 아니 카사 세비 예배 아니 되게 아래라라 가서래 내준데 시와라 투바기 아니 풍화다도 주와당스 디 카사 세 예와기 라니 풍화 주와데세 살레 체단 내메다 또단 대화 주와다를 세 카사 상보 살레베 아니 체페와다 내메와다 또단 대화다 리듬 대화를 중화다를 야 되게 가서래 살레니긴 되니와데
So next shows the an explanation by means of an example of the by means of an example the benefits of properly apprehending emptiness, as well as the negative consequences of misapprehending it, or apprehending it in a faulty fashion, misapprehending it, one could say. So the example that's given in verse 21 is it says, through eating poor food, or eating food in a faulty fashion, one will come to ruin. But by eating the right food, one attains vigor, health, strength, and happiness. It says pleasure here, that's okay too. So then the commentary here says that first starting with the negative example of misapprehending, the example for apprehending emptiness in a faulty fashion, just as eating food in a faulty manner, here that refers to eating food which has not been fully cooked, or food which is not fit for your constitution. It has faults, and the faults go all the way up to ruining one in the sense of causing one's death. So eating food that's not proper can lead to even to one's death. And then on the other hand, if one eats food which is good and which agrees with you, and you eat it in the proper fashion, this can produce the increase in one's lifespan, freedom from sickness, that one can have power, vigorous kind of bodily power, and then likewise that your both your body and your mind will exist in a pleasant fashion.
Oh yeah, that betty turned out the 대신 로바 송화대 풍화탄이 톱주지. 레버시베 대화다 자주라나 메바 토 세르가나 대신 로바 송화대 세가 어베 대신도 아니 라신지 동배 라신지 치다나고 오버나 라신지 동바라 아니 때네 메바 로바 송화다. 양 라신지 동바양 많이 라신지 미동바양 많이 세르가네 아니 로바 송화대 아니 가서래 다주시와 나시지 라시지 동배 아니 렌데 메바타나 최대한테 라시도 배 최대한테 메바타나 아니 라다 렌데 메바다와 라다 제네 아니 나서도 돈데 아니 풍화단에 터바 주신 라 대신 라바 소마데 풍화단에 터 주신.
So then the next explains the meaning of this example. Likewise, by misapprehending this, misapprehending it or holding it in the wrong fashion, one obtains destruction here, or says ruination or destruction. And so this is showing that just like eating the food in an improper fashion, wrong food, or eating it improperly, misapprehending, apprehending emptiness in the wrong fashion, such a person who does that will obtain ruination or destruction, will be destroyed. And so here, this is again explaining that if you take the absence of intrinsic existence as entailing or meaning that the complete non-existence of things, then one will be led into not accepting the existence of karma and its results. One will deprecate it in that fashion, or the alternative would be saying that this emptiness is not the real emptiness. The way that it's being explained here is not actual emptiness. There's some other form of a way of understanding emptiness that is the actual emptiness, and then by abandoning emptiness in that way, one will be led to destruction.
레바시에 대화다 자주라나 메바 톱 세가나 템바 톰바 땡중 그 텐도 텐연 바자 콘도 치반네 콘도 치바 뭐 시에네 아니 당신이 톰바 인비 군전기 톰바 인바 니지 군전기 아니 유개와 쳐발라 때는 제우 대화 중앙라 서바 군제라 렌제라 사바양 아니 귀와 이시기 귀와 귀위 아니 레버 셰베 아니 렌데지 랑도 수신도 제와라 때는 온도 대화다 대라 때는 아니 타도 토자라는 바양다 바 창주 토바 주그래 sel라나 창주라나 메바 톱.
Then on the other hand, by properly understanding this, one obtains happiness. One will obtain happiness as well as unexcelled awakening. That's the second half of verse 22. And so here it says that if, on the other hand, one comprehends or understands that emptiness has the meaning of dependent origination, then one will, by that very understanding of emptiness itself, or by means of, through the comprehension of emptiness itself, one will develop even greater respect for karma and its results. That is, through understanding emptiness in the sense of dependent origination, one will understand that through the creation of virtue, one will experience happiness. Creation of virtue, and through the avoidance of non-virtue, one will experience happiness, understanding that non-virtuous actions lead to suffering and that virtuous actions lead to happiness. One will develop even greater respect for that karma and its results. And then by having the correct kind of understanding in that way, then one will further develop the understanding of that which is to be taken up in practice and that which is to be abandoned in the course of the path. And through that understanding of that, then one will achieve both the happiness of high rebirth and the forms of existence of high status, as well as one will eventually obtain unexcelled awakening.
Oh yeah, that's something. Samotoma towa samotobala, ani payedan damba tela. 대신 딜라 뽕하다 매비다와 빠네니 윤전 대실 광도 셰바기 사모동바니라 치지로도 숨이 예미 쳐와다 사모동바니 된 치지 말로바 셰나 파연 셰와이 아니 윤전 대실 아니 딜라 뽕하당 세 돈인 딜라 뽕하당 아니 돈이 뽕하당 동바니 아니 그 동바니 시와데 멘동 라시지 동바이나 안에 매반이도 매봤다와 빠네 어떤이 되라 어때 매봤다와니 빠네 세 가선 대신 되라 뻥하다 매봤다와 빠네니 스톤이 되 돈이 뻥디라 요 말에서 뻥하다 또면 돈반이 따위 따와대 아니 매봤다와래 세와 안에 빠네 아니 사모 돈반이지 된 양답이 돈반이지 된 세대의 양답이 된 시와라 난데 안 초배바 전부 저고 그래 세난데도 안 배고 그래 세다 등근두지 양답이 시라 난데 초지 어때신 바래
So then the next verse 23 explains is a advice to be cautious with respect to this next verse is advice to be cautious with regard to understanding emptiness. And this is in verse 23, which says, "Therefore do not deny this dharma, and on the contrary, one should abandon nihilistic views in order to obtain all aims, accomplish all aims, strive for perfect understanding." Correct understanding. So one could translate that a little bit differently here, saying that therefore one should abandon this misconception of emptiness. One should not abandon emptiness itself. That itself is a fault. And then likewise, one should abandon the nihilistic view. And in order to accomplish all of your aims, you should make all supreme effort to understand things correctly. Here, understand correctly refers to understanding reality as it is, that is the emptiness of things. So here the first one should recognize that the bad consequences of misapprehending or apprehending emptiness in the wrong fashion are extremely great. And when you properly understand that, and that when you properly understand emptiness, the benefits are great. And therefore, one should give up, one should at all cost avoid abandoning this emptiness, that is, through misunderstanding it, thinking it's not the actual teaching of emptiness, or one should, or thinking that emptiness is nihilistic, then and abandoning it in that way, then oneself should abandon that. And then likewise, one should abandon the nihilistic view itself, which is the wrong view that the absence of intrinsic existence entails complete non-existence. And then one should make all efforts, a great effort, to understand the meaning of reality here. Reality here is, again, another name for emptiness.
Oh, yeah. 기후 통근 주비 치도 세가나라 기후 남지 통근 주도 사모동반이지 치와라 아니 배서 첨부 쳐고래 자와라 담바 무슨 자와라 담네 유네 아니 두자샤라 다양바 두세
So here this in all of the above in this verse and the explanation of it was instruction that Master Nagarjuna was addressing to his friend the king in the course of the text. And this instruction is, the purpose of it is so as to accomplish all of the aims of humankind. It says here, so this is, he's directly addressing the king here, but by extension, we can understand that he's likewise addressing all, anyone else who is wishing to train themselves in this kind of teaching.
다들이 이왕원이 준대라스 안에 되죠 나다래 단 이왕원이 준대되라 니 온도 준대 다 된다위 요 가서래 온도 준대되라 깝거보다 오지 돼 이 제가나 어느 나제 니도 깝깝하다 뭐지 돼 담보 깝깝하다라 돈이 마도배 코야 마도배 코와다 대도봐 대마도봐 대세도 온도라 배바 담바 다 돈이 마도나 코와라 마도 코와다 돈이 마도봐 대세도 아니다 온도 된 토발라 배바 담바 제2 제외나네 다 담보 돈이 마도나 코와라 코와테 최대 용서 마세나 안전반의 제수주 텔레게다 미겔레 텔레게와 상당에 스타카상에게 전부 나신 전이 그와 최대 용서 마세나 세나 사무 동반이지 아니 최대 용서 마세나 강사 대라 아니 랑기 천이 기초와 진병 안생스다 동반이기 된 마세 바인장 동반이기 로조스 조다비 안에 가사랑 그 천이 추바지 비즘바 데 안에 가사들을 제수 주그래 성안전 반에 제수 주 가사디 뒤랑 안전 예나 안에 대제라 안전 대고 꾸네 라데 안에 편적계획 내당 안에 미계획 내서 그래 다 가서 여기 퇴사인 바 지식 풍부 지역 바 대세대랑 안주에 내당 어세 그 소안 나신 전에 그 달러 터바 나신 전에 그와다 미계획 내서배 소 내대라 아니 두저기 아니 선다와라 때네 아니 춤제 겨와삼보 아니 딘디래이나 아니 겨와삼보 온디대 미게윌래이나 겨왕한방한보 아니 안저기래 야
So the next topic then is showing the causality of high status. This has multiple subdivisions. First is presenting the overall context, then there's the actual instruction itself, and then the overall context here begins by showing that by not understanding emptiness, one circles in samsara, and that and then the second subtopic here is that until one does understand it, one should make effort to achieve rebirth in a high status form of life, instruction to do that. So the first of these subjects, that is, as long as one, by not understanding emptiness, one circles in samsara, is given in verse 24, which says that if one doesn't fully understand this dharma, then misapprehension of the I will follow. And from that, virtuous and non-virtuous action or karma, and from that arises birth, good and bad, or good and bad forms of birth. So the commentary on this explains that here, if one doesn't fully understand this dharma of emptiness, then if one doesn't understand that, then the misapprehension of the I as being established by means of its own intrinsic identity, you'll attribute that to the person. Such a person who does not fully understand this dharma of emptiness will have this misapprehension of the I, which holds the I as if it was established by means of its own intrinsic identity. And then as long as that exists within the person, then such a person will accumulate virtuous and non-virtuous karma. This is just as we said previously earlier in the text, where it said, as long as one misapprehends the aggregates, one will have this misapprehension of the I, and then from that comes karma and birth. This is repeating the same basic point here in this verse, showing that, but here starting with the misapprehension of the I, as long as one has that, then one creates karma, and then from karma, if you create virtuous karma, you accumulate that virtuous karma, Then the virtuous karma, when it comes into contact with the factors which actualize it, then virtuous karma, it's the primary result of that will be rebirth in one of the higher states of existence. And so a secondary result of that would be the experience of happiness, various forms of happiness within higher states of existence. And then the result of non-virtuous karma, on the contrary, the primary result of that would be rebirth in one of the evil destinies or evil states, bad states of existence, and then likewise all of the forms of suffering that one experiences throughout the different realms of samsara.
Oh yeah. 다 테마도바 테세 온도라 베바타마세 세가나 사모똥바니 마도바 테세도 아니 온도 토바게 때나 베바타마텔라 대지 치생 아젠바 세비치도 마셰바 세가 다 공도 얘게 코와 이런 바치야 송아 돈이 마도나 코와 인자 사모똥바니 마도나 코와 그래 스당 사모똥바니 마도나 당진 방매도 당진 마바나 당진 왕게 레산나 코와 요인자 당진 지 왕게 레산나 코와 대치를 치생 안진 말씀바 세가라 아니 안진게 지다 세위 최대 안진게 지다 세와 최위 세위 최대 가래래잖아 최니 미시와 세위 최 가래래잖아 더니 사모똥바니 미시와 테스도 사모똥바니 미시와 테스도 아니 테스 진바당 수점당 아니 세비 최지 뒤가기 아니 다야게 온도 그 최초 기루요와 온도 최 기루라 아니 그거 자고 그래 어린자 그거 제지 때문에 전에 담바인 말이
So then the next verse explains is the instruction that for as long as one doesn't understand that teaching here, that is emptiness, that one should make effort towards achieving rebirth in the high status forms of existence. One should strive for that. And so this is in verse 25 in the translation. Therefore, as long as you have not understood this dharma that destroys or I would say removes the misapprehension of the I, devote yourself to the dharma of giving or generosity, morality, ethical conduct, and patience. Different ways of translating these words. So here in the commentary then it says, as stated above, as long as one misapprehends the I or the self, that is, holding the I or self as if it existed by means of its own intrinsic nature, as we've discussed previously, that form of the, here, this is referring then to the misapprehension of the I, is the wrong view of the disintegrating collection, another name for this kind of basic ignorance which misconceives the nature of the self. As long as one has that, then by the force of that misapprehension of the self, apprehending it as existing in a way in which it does not actually exist, then by the force of that, one will circle in samsara, undergoing rebirth in all of the different realms of samsara. Therefore, as long as one has not understood this dharma which removes the misapprehension of the I, that wrong view of the disintegrating collection, for that long, one should revere, here it says, one should honor and revere and devote oneself to generosity, to ethical conduct, and patience. So these three dharmas of generosity, ethical conduct, and forbearance or patience subsume then the 16 dharmas that pertain to rebirth in a high status that we've discussed previously.
Oh yeah, 근데 인상 가서래 지승아 좀봐 시위 최니 아니 미셔와 티세도 아니 다 가르래서나 진바다 추름다 쇠배 쉐지도와 세지 온도 두제 그 주조지 아니 진바다 추름다 쇠바스 못 임바래 온도 대한지 토고래서 온도 대한지 마도나 아니 사모 동반이 돼 안에 돼라 쥐바가 셔라 잼미도 봐 이상 기소 최소 대다 파모지 대라 시위 침반남랑 세 소남 세제 초장 대단히 소환하시 전에 온도 두제기 아니 주조어디 증바다 수준 써봐 어딘데기 아니 온데 대한지 마좀나 아니 람 코만 두발라 아니 사체 미용바 인상 다 가신 라브링 롱슈와 나신 전에 람조주라 천이 참여 때 많이 봐줘 사체 미용외 마저와 인상 다 람주바 그 천이 참와기 아니 대한지 결고래 대한텐데 주두제 주조데 가르래서는 안에 전부다 수dum 안 쇠배 취지 뒤와지래 인산티 쇠배 취지 뒤위 다 공도 쇠배 온디 취 주주부터라 아니 배고그래 어사모 동반이기 태양 공바기 대한 천이 참와지 기체도
So then to explain this in more detail, that it says at the end here, as long as one hasn't understood this teaching of emptiness, one should devote oneself, respectfully make effort towards the practice of generosity, ethical conduct, and patience or forbearance. And so these dharmas of generosity, ethical conduct, and patience, these three are categories that subsume the 16 dharmas that we've discussed previously under the topic of the causes of achieving rebirth in a high status form of existence. That is, it said that there's no way to gain an understanding of emptiness without already having obtained a high status form of life. That is, it's only when we've already achieved the high status forms of life endowed with all of the various attributes that enable us to develop the understanding of emptiness and free from the sorts of obstructions that would absolutely prevent us from developing an understanding of it, that we're able to do that kind of development. This has been explained extensively in the Lamrim teachings as well, that it's only with a human rebirth or a life that's endowed with the qualities of freedom to practice and freedom from insurmountable obstacles, as well as the positive qualities, endowments that facilitate the practice and development of this kind of understanding, that we're able to do this. So without having that in place, there's no possibility for developing this kind of understanding. Thus, it's taught also, and generally, the Lord Buddha, when he was addressing lay people, he emphasized especially these three practices of generosity, ethical conduct, and patience as the principal form of practice that lay people should devote themselves to, because without doing that kind of practice, then there's no way that one will achieve a good rebirth in a high status form of life in one's next life. And then, of course, as we've said, there's no way that one could develop any kind of understanding of emptiness without that as a foundation for that kind of development.
Oh yeah, that is when the Jundian turn la, ani sum yebenane, when the Jujuba, down when the Jujuba telayam, ani when the Ju. Jula law chill down by that you chabajana druba ni yebiche. That chill down by tella, payong and then you jula lava, said the time body. Tell us some yeben, payong and then you jula lava. That payong and then you jula labani, lanam want to cheer dancing. 파도 최대한 타마양 최대한 주비 사단이 디다션도 내 민주로 세전이다 어디 숨도 와 라나원도 최동신 세간나다 가르송을 해서나 다 류가 유송기 차와 류당 아당 이지래남 체병원도 안에 가서래 류가게 실차 내 가능 치간도 되라 삼바개위 삼바중원도 당고래 삼바개위 최지 당신 삼바개위 최기 그런 계획 끝내라도 가라 아니 류가게 차와데 가와두고 와린자 삼바개위 최 당신 파도야 안에 가서를 최단된 바탕 세가 파도 최단된 바 세가라 그런 계획 끝내 랑반 나신 전에 아니 파도야 랑글령아 그 레와 레 칸당 칸체게 옛나야 그런 계획 끝내 랑반 나신 아니 계획 최단된 바탕 와 파도 최단된 바탕 타마야 최대 가서대 타마양 최대 주비 사단이 대다신도 내버지 타마양 세례다 타마양 세가라다 대송고연 바래 여기 종을 주스나 자기나 아니 대인가디 강한 체외 개와 대다 아니 아랑기 가서라 최도자와 산제지 공방 토비치도 아니 톱제기 남주거디 누바 체발라야 땡 천이 상와지 고와요 인상 땡 천이 상와지 개바기 줄랑 어디 텐정와게 타마야 최den도 루비 어다 류가 요새 최단 tum번 루비에게 사다 잡아 되지니 사다니 잡아 되지니 아니 체대당 현도 내봐 주고 말해 천딜라야 아니 대봐 체현라야 아니
So then next topic that comes is the actual instruction on the causal relationship, cause and effect that gives rise to high status. And this has multiple subdivisions again. First is the producing the causes of high status. And then there's an instruction on how to develop these causes of high status. This begins with an instruction to how to train oneself in the causes for high status and showing the 5 benefits that arise from developing the causes of rebirth in one of these high status forms of life. So here the next verse, in verse 26, gives the benefits, five kinds of benefits that arise from this training. Verse 26, it says, O king, if you undertake deeds that begin with dharma, have dharma in the middle and dharma in the end, you will not, and then it says, despair in this world or the next. Despair I would replace with be harmed. You will not be harmed in this world or the next. So the verse here says that literally it says, prior to action, you should engage in dharma. You should engage in dharma. During action, you should engage in dharma, and at the end of action, you should practice such that it is dharma as well. O king, in this way, if you practice in this way, you will not be harmed here or in the next world. Is another way to translate that verse. So. Here it says that in terms of all of our actions, karma, that we create with our bodies, with our speech, with our minds, prior to any kind of activities that we engage in, physical activities, verbal or mental activities, first we should set up a virtuous a virtuous dharma as intention. That is, virtuous dharma should function as the intention, that thinking that what we're about to do should be virtuous in nature and should be directed towards, should itself be a dharma activity. Then in the middle, that is, while one is performing the action itself, your actions should possess dharma. You should maintain, the actions themselves should be virtuous, and that virtuous dharma intention that you you formed before engaging in the action should be carried over during the course of the action as well. And then at the end as well, your actions should possess dharma. That means at the end here, we can understand this is saying that, like, for example, at the end of the day, or during the course of each day, and especially at the end of the day, we should think back on any kind of virtuous actions that we performed, all of the forms of virtuous behavior we've engaged in, whether verbal, physical, or even in thought. And dedicate that towards the achievement of, ultimately to the achievement of unexcelled awakening. But as a sort of interim stage in the achievement of unexcelled awakening, we should think that these actions should serve as a basis or cause for me to be reborn into a high status form of rebirth, so that I can continue to develop myself in the direction of achieving unexcelled awakening. So, and then the verse here says that if a king who practices like that, having dharma like that, will not be harmed either in this life or in the next life either. So in the next life here refers to the type of rebirth that one will achieve if one practices dharma in this way.
Oh yeah, 대다 토마다 타마다 아니 파도 토마다 파다 타마를 천년도 주비 안에 싸다 체대당 현도 내봐 민주대 다 가르래서나 최진 대장 대화다 니단치가 지밤에 지대 현도 내외제 대외다도 최대한제 설가나 오다 된다위 안에 통다 받도 주비 아니 천년도 주비 싸다 체대 안에 통다 받음도 선음 주바 인장 되게 대부라 최지 지대들 안에 차바다 냠바다 안에 고슴 안에 가서 최신도 제바 인장 디바 마제바 인장 디바 제바 그 제바 매비 치리 아니 이대바 아니 현라 체와 방바라 소와기 미마이 아니 미마이 바기 체와 매배 체디야 지바 매바 체디가와 초신도 주바 인장 치가양 안주 지바 매바 是吧？我这吃完了，吃完了吃，真没在，他妈样没事，现在送完那些钱呢，吃完了，我吃个样俺就把买吧。几点限度，今年车票的几点限度，俺那电脑接的，俺那电话接吧。我的朋友我的电吧的，也给我的朋友安电机，朋友安电机住了住吧，是个我的朋友我有的，朋友我的。 아니 파연아 여봐 대회장 다도 최대지 아니 파연 대다라 300권에 아니 뒤다도 고성 개발래라 주대 아니 최대 바자고 대대 바자고래 전에 아니 다 잡으라 담바인발.
So this here in the next verses continues this instruction to the king. It says that by means of the Dharma, you will have fame here in this life. You'll have fame and happiness, and here and at the time of death, you will be without fear. And likewise, you'll have a vast happiness in the next world as well. Therefore, always serve the Dharma. is the instruction here. The last word serve could also be understood as meaning resort to or rely upon, and it also can be understood as meaning like adore, devote yourself to the Dharma. So as was said in the previous verse, he's instructed the king there to, at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end of all of activities, one should form the right intention, one should carry out the action in a virtuous fashion and in accordance with the Dharma, and then at the end of when the action is concluded, one should dedicate the merits, virtue that one has created towards the achievement of a good rebirth in the next life, so as to serve as a basis for the achievement of unexcelled awakening. And then if one practices in that way, then one won't have any harm befall one in this life or in the next life either. And then the results of this kind of practice are explained that by means of that kind of Dharma practice, in this world here, one will achieve fame or a good reputation, and here people will say good things about you. And then likewise, by not being engaged in negative kinds of actions, non-virtuous actions, you won't have any kind of regret for having performed negative actions. And out of that absence of regret, then you'll be mentally happy as a result of that. And then also by not harming others in the course of your life, you won't yourself be afflicted or harmed by any kind of non-human sort of beings, and therefore you won't have any fear out of that. You'll be free of fear here in this life because by not harming others, you won't be yourself harmed by spirits or other non-human sorts of beings. And then likewise, you'll also be devoid of any kind of fear of falling into the evil destinies or low states of existence at the point of death. This is just as it's explained in the introduction to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, where Shantideva says that there's different ways of dying. Some people die in a happy frame of mind, thinking that they're going on to the next life into a better state of existence. And into a happy form of life. So that's one way of dying, but at the minimum, if one practices Dharma very carefully, then one will die without any fear. You'll die without any kind of fear at all that you're going to fall into a lower state of existence. And then likewise, by practicing Dharma as detailed above, in the next life, in the next world as well, you'll experience vast happiness in the desirable or happy states of destinies, happy states of existence. And because this Dharma practice has these 5 benefits that have been listed above, one should always serve or depend upon this Dharma, and that's the instruction then that Master Nagarjuna has given to his friend, the king.
Oh, yeah, that you want to tambi lu yimba said la. Ani payang ane jil tambi lu said. Oh, jil tambi lu la ba said la. Tamba. Chuji lu ni tamba de, lu ji tamba de. Chuji ji den nga ju. 직단 가와를 주회장 대단한도 이 메주를 세르가 당원도 최대 야보남지 아니 루지 산에 차와무 루지 아니 담바무 쪼지래 담바데스 최원도 최대 최지 직단 왕되네 어자고 그문도래 류된 차바자 토베 야보기 아니 최주관에 안에 직대 왕도 되네. 아니 직대 왕도 되네. 직대 왕바 가와 출라. 세가라 안에 직대 가와 출회장. 가서 최지 직대 왕가 줄. 최지 직대 왕가 줄. 가와 줄라스 지된 가와의 교회 아니 지된 가와의 교회 아란당香港 아니 취지 왕도 전에 아니 왕도 두와 아니 지된 가와의 교회 랑당 현 세대당 아니 현라 아니六没就吧是吧让他先进俺那让你6没就吧路他把得来担把下过来是吧啦地当先都里没就今天搞的区别讲地当先都里没就
So then the next verse explains a general manner in which one should train oneself in the best or chief kind of conduct. Now, the term here for conduct actually can, if you're speaking in terms of a king, can refer to sort of like policies that the ruler observes, but it also has a broader sense of behavior or conduct in general. So this is a general instruction in how to train in the best kind of behavior, best kind of conduct or best policy as a ruler. And this is verse 28, which says, Dharma is the highest policy or conduct, one could say. Dharma pleases the world. And if the world is pleased, you will not be deceived here or hereafter. And so here...
今天确切是没的，今天确切是没的。
这真是吗？
哎，这个就过说这样了。
Rinpoche heard me say the 8 worldly dharmas. No. No. So here, so here then, this dharma for of high status, literally, is dharma which enables one to achieve high status in the next life. And here, this is the commentary explains that even for kings as well, even for rulers, this dharma is the best of conduct, or the best policy, literally. And that is, it's through the dharma one can actually gain dominion over the world. And it explains it in this way. Through ruling the world via dharma, or by means of dharma, one delights the world, and by the world being delighted as well, one will not be, oneself and others will not be deceived either in this life or in the next life, and therefore one ought to rely upon this best of policies, the Dharma practice here.
Oh yeah, that day, ani tambaki lula lawa cheche, jo tambaki lula lawa che. That day tamba mayin bi lu pangwa tela. Ani lu ji tenjun, oh ta sum che kana. Lu ji tenjun ngamba la tamba meri pa, se ya yin zang. Chimin ba yi di lu ji tenjun ngamba la tamba meri pa ni. Chimin ba yi lu de kang de yi ji den mi ga churu. Ji den mi ga ni ji ni de dan xian do ga mi churu. Se kan la ta chimin ba yi lu de se kan la. Jabu lu ngam ani lu ngamba chimin do je ba. Chimin ba je ba ga jabu lu ngamba ta. Ani ya cewa che su ma wa. Cewa che su ma ba man je che ba la sa xian la cewa che ba che su ma wa. Chi min ben ni lu ji den je ngamba de ba kan yin ba te yi. O da chi min du je ba da cewa che su ma wa la sa we den je ngamba te da ge ani ji den mi ga wa ju la. O ji den mi ga wa mi ga wa ni ji 아니 대단 현도 메가와 큐레 아니 롱아바데 빵고 그래 세라 대단 현도 감 민주로
So the next verse explains how it's improper to rely upon here it says treatises on, literally it's treatises on policy that are evil or that are bad. There are treatises government policy that advocate evil kind or wrong sorts of behavior that are contrary to the Dharma. And here, Master Nagarjuna is instructing his friend the king not to depend upon these texts that advocate bad policy, bad sorts of behavior. So here it says that there are evil sorts of royal texts which advocate evil sorts of royal behavior, royal policy, which and those that advocate harming others as a kind of dharma. Now, here the word dharma is being used in the broadest sense of some kind of conduct. So you can say that there's the dharma of harm, harmful dharma as well, in that harming others is a kind of evil dharma, one would say. So advocating that kind of evil, harmful dharma is actually non-dharma, meaning not the correct or virtuous form of dharma. So therefore, those who accept these evil treatises that advocate that kind of policy or behavior, by means of those kinds of practices, one does not please the world, and by not pleasing the world, oneself not be pleased either. One will not have happiness or be pleased either in this world or the next, that is, in this life or the next. And because that is the case, one should cast away these evil kinds of policy statements or treatises that advocate that kind of evil policy.
Oh yeah, that digi kasore loji tenje ngabara temba meri bate. Oh che. Terwa. Tenno de telechen da tela me batela. 저거 취미도 줘봐. 차와 취해서 매봐라. 소화가 차와 칭게 되나 매봐대라. 되나 매봐나. 되메르방안 주람. 현루hul레 미세바. 세지라. 현루hul레 미세바. 세지 임바레. 되메르방안 주람 세나 규되된 주제도 매비. 되매봐세. 아니 규 남지 되된 주제도 매비. 아니 룽amba 다 쳐와 쳐서면 봐 저울롱아 룽amba 대다 룽amba 리비 제수 휴베 아니 가 더부텔라 가르서나 안주 남제바 콰나세베 라니랑 안주 제바기 아니 남제바 콰나세베 대다기 아니 셴루와 셴루와 훌렘바 안주 미세바 제바세 어텐데 대다 제수 주바다 잖네 아니 대다기 차와 훈련바라 라니라 대봉안도 미세바 깨바테 깨바 셔럽 차와 남지 세가네 양다비 셔럽다 미담바 와 셔럽 차와 남지니 지다 규비 되는데 된다고 남지 규비 된지를 받쳐야 돼 지다 규비 아니 규비 된지를 받쳐야 돼 아니 So then
the next is a criticism of these treatises which advocate harmful policy, which advocate non-virtue as that which a ruler ought to practice in order to govern his kingdom. And this is verse 30 then, which says that a useless political theory is one that intends to deceive others. It is a harsh and bad path harsh and a path to bad rebirths. How could the unwise make such a theory useful? Is the way it's translated here. Yeah. So another way to translate this would be that this science, which does not possess meaning, that is, it's not meaningful or does not have sort of beneficial intention to it, is the path to evil destinies. It induces one to make effort to deceive others, which is sort of a very horrible thing to do. And how is it that those who have sort of deceitful forms of intelligence could make the meaning of this something which is meaningful? How could they make it into make it such that it possesses meaning in the sense of being beneficial to others? So here, then, these sort of evil treatises on wrong policies or wrong behavior, which these actually don't function to accomplish the aims that are desired by human beings. They don't work that way. But and by following this kind of it's like evil science, actually, literally, a sort of knowledge or science for deceiving others. By following that, it opens up the path to the evil destinies. It basically opens up the path to the evil destinies. It simply does that. And this generates actually the horrible states of the evil destinies, and is merely a kind of effort to deceive others. So people with that kind of deceptive intelligence or confused, deceptive kind of intelligence, how could they possibly be able to understand the meaning, understand the aims of human beings, that is, properly understand them as they are, because all they're doing is actually harming other human beings, and they're simply behaving in a way which is actually, which is merely the contrary of accomplishing the aims of others.
Oh yeah. 나한테는 8월로와 흘려봐. 전도 치다 루데미. 되니 체럽던라도 나니 오카날리와 줄 세가나. 다 겨울라서 룽엠비 제수 자미 겨울티기 루니. 루니 안에 그 8월번 루와 흘템바 바시도 세지고. 루밤 안에 고고똥하려와. luan bashidu, luan pulemba bashidu sebe. Jiwi tendu, jiwi parobe tendu, chita ludan demba mares. Ludan demba mares. Teni serap tonda to tani kwana liwa churu serkan. Tendai, chimide jewi jawo teki lungemba teni, ani serap tonda to tani kwana, ani liwa juwi ser. Ani liwa juwi ser.
The next verse continues this criticism of these evil sorts of treatises that advocate harming others as policy and practicing non-virtue as a policy. And this is in verse 31, which says, "Since that deception will just deceive oneself also for many thousands of rebirths, how could one intent on deceiving others be a true statesman at all?" That's the way it's translated there. So how could someone who, how could this royal policy, which follows this evil form of policy, how all it is a deception. It's making effort to deceive, to delude other persons. How could that possibly be the policy which achieves the aims of human beings? It's not the case. Such an evil policy as this, it simply acts to deceive oneself as well, throughout the course of thousands of lifetimes.
Oh yeah, that didn't it? Chujulu Chavado Papa Yimbate. Chujulu Chavado Papa Yimbate, Dala Neba China, Yanam Dan Den, Gyanam Dandi, and then. Teni Chuji Ramban top, Dawayani Mika Juru, O di Kana, Karasungare, Kade, Parobo Dajila, and Rangi, Lunga Neba Chavadachi, Inayang. Gyanam Dandi, Sigala, and Tella, Nesem down. Never Chewa Tella, and Rang Kasi, Iran Chewa La Sawaki, and Gyanam Dandi. One never Chewa Tella, Gusam La Sawati, Gena, Yuan Dancy Tang, Yuan Dancy Tang. Or and then Dambayena Teni, and Chuji Chawa, Shana never Chewa, the round of Pampa Tobla. Chewala, and Shan Dumbe, Rang Chewala. Ane Shan Dumbe si Xianyang Iran Jebam, Tunye Jebe. Dawayani, Migawa Chumeji, Dawadi Migawa Chumeji, Rana Kanamato, Chunsaja Medo, Sirikana, Rana, Ani Paro Dala, Nebachewa, the Kanamato, Chunsaja Yamari. Kanamato Wasana, Niwa Chunsaja Yamari.
So then the next verse shows the superiority of a policy which follows Dharma, is in accord with Dharma, actually. So this is in verse 32. If you wish to make your foes unhappy, do away with your faults and enhance your good qualities. That way you will gain great benefit, and your enemies will also be displeased. So this says, here says that if one actually wishes to do harm to one's enemies, in effect, one should give up behaving in a faulty fashion. Rather, one should instead rely upon virtue. One should develop good qualities, and such a person who relies upon good qualities in that way will all of one's activities done in a virtuous way in which one is generating good qualities instead of harming others, then that results in benefit to oneself. And then by yourself having practiced Dharma as a ruler here, then since others will have admiration for you out of that Dharma practice, then your enemies, those who dislike you, will become displeased by that. And yet at the same time, oneself will not have incurred even the slightest kind of misdeed.
Oh yeah. 당원이 주 차버잖아 나와텔라. 아니 소문 예배나네. 담보 누가 실라 나와디. 난 누가 실라 나와서 코와진다. 냠바매 와서 지된 된제 두시 된라 죄 세대다 직바인 말이. 코와진당. 진단 냠바 마와다. 팬당 된제 죄바 된지 죄바데. 죄바데. 진당 세베게리 다 진바라 숨래 세가나 진바라 상생기 진바 미지바 진바 요아르와 상생 미지 최다 참서 지단 참바 진바 아요 진바 시요하래 다 숨기 나네 진배 진바라 숨이 비나네 아니다 상생기 진바라 쏘와기 진배 아니 랑고 코르도 뚜와당 진바라 때네 랑고 코르도 뚜와당 코든드네 아니 텔라 아니 가서래 온도당 엘레레 제바게 땀냐바 마바 코드드네 아니 다 온도당 엘레게 땀냐바 마니 온도 주지그 둘라라베 럽지가다 엘레 주지그 둘라랍체 럽이 텐도 온도당 엘레레 잠베 땀냐바 마바다 tenjeba xianla yang pen tenjeba ani kasore xianla pendeji nyamsu lian jubatang ra o rangi nyamsu xianla pendegi nyamsu lian de jubatang xianla pendegi nyamsu lian ba jeba la ani rani ge nyamsu lian ba ju gogo ware ma do rani nyamsu ma lian ba la ani xian lian de ju me ju ba yin za tenjebe jeba de xian go ba da 라니다 냠수 렘바데 튼바 튼바 어디 인자 진다 냠바 메바다 팬다 튼지 제바데 야
So then the next verse explains the instruction how to train oneself in the special causes of rebirth in a high status form of life. And this begins with an instruction in the 4 means of attracting others. And that is expressed in the verse 33 in the root text, which says, be generous, speak gently, be beneficent, act with the same intention as you expect of others. Through these ways of acting, bring together the world and also sustain the Dharma. So here it says that by means of, by the 3 forms of generosity, there's multiple forms of generosity giving. Here 3 are listed. There's other lists of different enumerations of forms of generosity. The first of these is the gift of material things. And then, so by means of that kind of gift, generosity of material things, one is able to attract following, and in the case of a ruler, attract or draw together to himself or herself the subjects of the kingdom. So attract others by means of generosity. And then once you've attracted people to you in that through generosity of the various forms of generosity, then one should, in a nice fashion, properly express to them instructions that commence with the instruction on how to achieve high status, rebirth in a good state of existence in the next life, as well as the ways in which one achieves the highest good of liberation and so forth. So these forms of instruction one should properly express to them in a attractive fashion to them. Then one should practice in accordance with the way that what one advocates, so as that one should do oneself practice what one is advocating that others engage in, and showing to others the way in which to engage in the practice that has benefit for others. And one should
지단 텐된 두시 텐라 제 텐 tum방나 제 텐제바 제라요바리 딜라 텐제바데 아니 샹라 팬데 냠수 렘바 주바 텐제 지바데 샹거바다 라니 렘바스 제네 고나 다가라나 치마니 고완 나왔다로 고완 나왔다로 시리 남지 텐 tum바다 텐제바스 아 딜라 텐제바다 텐 tum바 텐 tum바스 감면도 텐제바 샹라 팬데도 냠수 렘도 주바
So here there's these expressions that one finds here, like acting in accordance with one's proper form of acting appropriately can be understood in multiple ways. In this particular text, it says that the acting in accordance with a meaningful way, meaningful behavior, is defined in this particular context as acting so as to induce others to take up that which is of benefit, is beneficial. And then the second form of the second thing here is acting is
and
the second one then is behaving yourself in the way in which you are advocating others to behave. That you're telling others to do something, you should act in accordance with the same aim in the same way, and that you're telling others to do it. So these two terms actually have a sort of similar sort of intention here.
대단 남지 지대한 최장 두와 니도 저 세가나 오다 짐바모 코와 짐발라 써봐게 아니 누용오 15 대단 남지 내가 지대기 내가라 아니 내가 지대당 푸지 최장시 아니 누와 니도 저 두세와 누와 니도 저 세가나 누와 15대 아니 랑지 민지 바로를 침바 추당 现居媒介都用我学习干了，俺那普及缺讲多啊你都，俺那这就在当说是，当我在外面。
So these, by means of these four, it's called means of attraction here, speaking, giving gifts, speaking in a way which is appropriate for the people you're addressing, inducing others to engage in virtuous forms of behavior, acting yourself in a way which accords with what you're telling others to do. These four things then that attract others are the instruction here in the text is for the ruler to the king here to practice these means of attraction so as to achieve both temporary sorts of good results here in this life in the world, as well as the ultimate kind of achievement by means the practice of the Dharma, and to attract others in that way.
Oh yeah, that digi undi you chaba jana lawa tela sum yebe nani duwa shila lawa te pa chini. Taniwa demba mawa so shila lawa tela. Ya, kasore. Ni chebe kana soso demba da dui demba ni che. Ta tambo soso demba tela yang shi yebe nani. Ta tambo demba. Oh, demba mawa se. Demba ni. 자고 타라 치다보 denji 인지 denje 바 대신되라 주만이 이미 체벌의 체비 초 인자다 가소래 주만 마마와 아니 덴바마와 바실라 배바 차고 그래 자고 타라 치다와 denji 덴바마와 바실라 배바 차고 그래 마와는 배바 차디 아니 자보 타라 내가 시험망보 여장 지당 자보 타라 내가 시험망보 여장 치다 덴바마와 지부여나 주의마마와 덴바마와 지부여나 제와 디니 라양 아니 라양开朗吧 教育开朗吧 라 미션 이템비 내서 이제템바 개와 미션지가 이제 템포 기억이 아니 저우다 템바레스 그러나 어때 인자 자고 달라 치다고 내지 이제 땡제 봐 템바마 파연티 체크
So here then it's other qualities or other forms of training are expressed. That is that one should train oneself in truthfulness, speaking the truth, and so forth. There are four, and these are given in a individual exposition. Each of them is taught individually, and then the meaning of this is summarized at the end. So with regard to the first of these, that is truthfulness, this is in verse 34, and it says, a single truth uttered by kings makes their subjects have firm trust in them. Likewise, one falsehood on their part is the best way to lose that trust. It's possible that instead of saying one truth there, one might say that solely speaking the truth. If a king speaks only the truth alone, then it will give rise to a confidence in them on the part of the others. And likewise, if they if they tell lies, then they will be completely no one will have any kind of confidence in them whatsoever. That is, their subjects will not have confidence in them. So the commentary here explains that a ruler should make all effort to speak only the truth. Even if rulers have many other faults, if they only speak the truth, then in this very life, others will accept what they have to say, and they will be considered someone who is extremely trustworthy on the part of others. That is, so they'll have this will, if they speak nothing but the truth, then others will have confidence. It'll give rise to confidence on the part of others in their trustworthiness. And then likewise, no, the sorry.
Oh yeah, demba mewa de yidem bitne so she xian yi shi dembo jeba demba jeba ge ani de wu de demba a che. Ti xin de lan zui ma ni yi mi che ba che bi cho. So o da ti xin du xian la ani zui ma wa ni ani ran la ya xian ji yi mi che ba che ba. Yi mi che ba ge cho yin ba. 然后一米些把切把印章，电板毛瓦当，按最毛瓦那就那呢，电板毛瓦就超一米七是这样的，原来最毛瓦的一米些把切被超一米七是，
So then one can say then on the contrary, or just as in the contrary of what has just been said, if a ruler speaks lies, or if someone tells lies, then they become sort of the exemplar of someone that one should not trust. They become the sort of highest form of someone that is untrustworthy. And the commentary here says the same thing, that such a person who tells lies is the supreme among those who are not trustworthy. That is the very highest form of an untrustworthy person.
Oh yeah, that didn't. Oh. 如果每天电马的300句话吞到米，是的，现如果没把它电被吃马瓦的电把马瓦的嘞，是吧？马瓦的电把马瓦的300吞到米的边多些句话，吞到最明白米是，那多些钱句呢？你引把了马引把当。 아니 가서로 마인바라 임바다 여바라 메바라 소바 두시잖아 유나 아니 주민바 말이 주래 셈베 텐다 미덴비 두시 주나 강제야 될 텐다 미덴바 여바라 메바다 연대다 미덴바라 연대다 댐바 차와데 마제바라 제와라 소바 아니 전대 제와 아니 전대 그 두시 주나 주민바 말이 주민바 민호 主民把马的最热是关巴的。
So then, the next line in verse 35 says that that which does speech which is not which is without deception is speaking the truth, and it's not done so as to literally change the minds of others' minds. Or in the translation here, it says, this is 35. To speak the truth is to speak in a manner that is not deceptive. It is not what is in fact distorted by an intention, the way it is translated here. So here it says, speaking words which do not deceive others, which are free from deception for others, is speaking the truth. That is speaking the truth. So what this refers to is not speaking a lie. It actually means saying something with the intention of causing someone else to have their mind changed in a way which does not accord with the way things actually are. So when we say something like, I did something, if you say, I did something, when you haven't done it, your intention there, to make it a lie, would be you're intending the other person to think that you have done something when in fact you have not. Or if you say, this is in fact the case, when it is not in fact the case, and you make that kind of statement with the intention of causing the other person to have their mind formed to change into a belief in that which is not actually the case, then you have told a lie.
那提前了，提前就我的嘛，提前了的现在这个判罚的没办钱呢，这个没，现在按那卡说，这个判罚的等把嘛话的，是等把赢了，是等把嘛话赢了是。 现在这个判罚，俺的等把嘛话赢了是，但没办比起呢，俺的没办比起呢，现在没办比起呢，这些团了的那话的那样，俺的等把嘛话骂的是没办比起的，这些团了那话他你让等把嘛话骂一般，现在判比吃把些嘛过来是，
现在判
比吃把些嘛的巧是
等把嘛话明白。
等把嘛话影响是没办法去呢，这些团了，按你那话的那样是判等把嘛话的那样，等把嘛话嘛一般或者嘛办法影响，现在判罚给这把些嘛话巧
So here then actually what is said, the term here, speaking the truth, is not simply not lying. It's not as simple as that. It's given a definition here of having a beneficial intention. That is, you're saying things that are true with an intention of simply with a single intention of wishing to benefit others. That is speaking the truth. It entails necessarily having a beneficial intention as well. So if you say something which actually accords with the way things are, but you do so not as to not in a way which is designed to benefit others, then that we wouldn't call that here as speaking the truth. Rather, it's only the case when one is saying things which are have words which are in fact beneficial to others. That is really defined here as truth speaking here.
我也在在下去说，稍许别记出现么多当，日照并些年的节目。 三界寻都没得不瓦也，周开南大仙拉结包，一当古州然那门扎拉干尼亚大呀米，将就三九人保健马街巴南街，街瓦年巴没巴呀，光年光都别瓦小东。